History is a curated lie. We look at the ruins of the past through the safety of time, seeing only the monuments, the gold, and the myths. But if you were to wake up today in the year 1350 BCE, in the heart of the Egyptian New Kingdom, the monuments would be the least of your concerns. You would be a biological and social anomaly, a ghost trapped in the most sophisticated and brutal machine the Bronze Age ever produced. This is not a historical reenactment. This is your survival dossier. This is a reality of your displacement. The first thing that will break you is the sun. In your modern world, you're shielded by atmospheric pollution, climate control, and synthetic fabrics. In ancient Egypt, the sun is not a light source. It is a physical weight, the ultraviolet radiation reflecting off the white limestone structures, and the endless sea of sand is blinding. Within hours, your eyes, unaccustomed to such raw luminosity, will begin to sear. The heat reaches 45 degrees Celsius by noon, a dry, oppressive fire that cooks the skin and turns the very marrow in your bones into lead. You are breathing in a mixture of sun-baked mud, drying fish, and the heavy, sweet stench of blue lotus incense. There is no waste management here. You are inhaling the biological reality of 100,000 people living in a narrow strip of green, surrounded by a world of red death. You are the most dangerous creature in this timeline, not because of what you can do, but because of what you carry. Your body is a reservoir of 3,000 years of viral and bacterial evolution. You carry strains of the common cold, mutated influenza, and modern pathogens that the immune systems of the 18th dynasty have zero defense against. You are a walking plague. A single cough in a crowded marketplace in Thebes could trigger a pandemic that would collapse the New Kingdom centuries before its time. You are a biological weapon of mass destruction, and you don't even know it. But the environment is equally lethal to you. Your modern immune system is pampered. You have spent your life drinking sterilized water. The Nile, while the lifeblood of the empire, is a graveyard for your digestive system. It is teeming with parasites like schistosomiasis and bacteria that your body has no memory of fighting. If you drink the water raw, the simulation ends in 72 hours. Your internal organs will succumb to dysentery long before you ever see the inside of a temple. In this world, water is death. Only the fermented, thick, porridge-like beer of the Egyptians is safe. It is rich in vitamin B and protein. It is your only shield against the microscopic killers of the Bronze Age. You will try to speak, and this will be your second greatest mistake. You speak English or perhaps Turkish or Spanish. None of these linguistic roots exist yet. You are attempting to communicate using a software that hasn't been written. To the Egyptians, your voice is a chaotic, rhythmic noise. It sounds like the barking of a desert dog. In a society where Ma'at, divine order, is a supreme law, your presence is Isfit, chaos. If you encounter a patrol of the Medjay police, your modern instinct will be to explain yourself. You will wave your arms. You will point to the sky. To them, this is a behavior of someone possessed by a malevolent spirit. In 1350 BCE, there is no concept of civilian. You are either a subject, a known foreigner, or an enemy. Without a tongue to speak their language, you are an enemy. Your only hope is silence. You must mimic the local laborers. You must learn to bow without looking up. You must learn that in this world, eye contact with superior is a death sentence. In the simulation, your modern skills are worthless. Can you code? Can you drive? Can you manage a social media account? These are ghost skills. in the year 1350 BCE. Value is measured in the strength of your back and your ability to endure the sun. You will find yourself at the bottom of the social pyramid. Your home will be a mud brick hut that absorbs the heat of the day and releases it like an oven at night. You will sleep on a mat of reeds on a dirt floor, shared with scorpions and sandflies. You will work. You will carry heavy baskets of Nile silt to the fields. You will pull massive ropes to move blocks of granite that weigh more than your entire family. You will do this for 12 hours a day, fueled by nothing but a few loaves of emmer wheat bread and a jar of sour beer. This is the moment your modern psychology will begin to shatter. You are a product of a world that values the individual. Ancient Egypt values the collective and the divine. You are a cell in a body, and if that cell does not perform, it is discarded. There is no social safety net. You either contribute to the order of the empire, or you are left for the jackals. However, you possess a basic understanding of mathematics, geometry, and astronomy that would rival the most elite scribes of the House of Life. While you cannot speak the language, you understand the logic of the universe. If you can survive the first month of manual labor, your path to survival lies in the ink and the reed. The Egyptian bureaucracy is obsessed with measurement. They measure the rise of Nile, the yield of the grain, the angles of the temples. If you can take a stick and draw a perfect Pythagorean triangle in the sand, you will catch the eye of an overseer. You don't need words to demonstrate geometry. In that moment, you cease to be a vile foreigner and become a source of wonder. But this path is dangerous. Knowledge in this world is not free. It is the province of the priests and the pharaoh. By showing what you know, you are claiming a power that belongs to the gods. You are moving from the position of a slave to the position of a threat. Let us look at the medical reality. If you're injured in the fields, the sleeper faces a nightmare. Ancient Egyptian medicine is a mix of advanced surgery and pure magic. They understand that honey has antibacterial properties. They know how to set bones and perform trepanning. But they also believe that your infection is caused by a demon blocking your internal channels. They will treat your wound with a paste made of moldy bread and fly dung. While the moldy bread might accidentally provide a primitive form of penicillin, the fly dung will introduce a host of new infections that your modern body cannot fight. You will be forced to choose. Do you trust their rituals, or do you use your knowledge of hygiene to save yourself? But how do you explain the concept of germs to a priest who believes that health is a gift from the goddess Sekhmet? As you move through the months, the psychological toll of the displacement becomes a constant ache. You miss the hum of electricity. You miss the taste of processed sugar. You miss the ability to know what is happening on the other side of the world. Here, the world ends at the horizon. Information travels at the speed of a rowing boat on the Nile. You are trapped in a chronological vacuum. But then, you begin to see the beauty of the machine. You see the precision of the calendar, the alignment of the temples with the stars, the absolute stability of a culture that has lasted for 2,000 years. You begin to realize that your modern world is the anomaly, a frantic, flashing moment in the dark, while Egypt is eternal stone. But your presence here is a ticking clock. You are in the 18th dynasty, the era of Akhenaten, the heretic king. The empire is in a state of religious civil war. Akhenaten has abolished the old gods, the powerful priesthood of Ammonius, and replaced them with the Aten, the sun disk. He has moved the capital to a new city in the desert, Amarna. As a sleeper with knowledge of the future, You are now standing on a political powder keg. You know that Akhenaten's revolution will fail. You know that his son, Tutankhamun, will be forced to restore the old gods, and that Akhenaten's name will be erased from history. Do you use this knowledge? If you find yourself in the shadow of the palace, do you warn the pharaoh? Do you explain that his city will be abandoned and his temples torn down? Or do you join the priests of Ammonius, using your prophetic knowledge to secure a place of power in the coming restoration? This is the ultimate test of the sleeper. You are no longer just a survivor. You are a ghost with the power to rewrite the destiny of the Nile. But history has a way of protecting itself. Every change you make, every word you whisper, ripples through the timeline. If you save the library of a temple from a future fire, do you prevent the dark ages, or do you create a future where your own birth never happens?
The transition from a manual laborer to a person of influence in the 18th dynasty is not a matter of ambition. It is a matter of survival. As the months pass, the physical toll on your body becomes a permanent shadow. Your skin is no longer the soft tissue of the digital age. It is a map of scars, burns, and the deep ingrained dust of the Nile. But while your body has withered under the Egyptian sun, your mind remains your only currency. In this era, knowledge is not democratized. There is no internet, no library for the common man. Knowledge is hidden in the house of life, the scriptoria attached to the great temples. To enter this world, you must leverage the one thing you have that no priest in Memphis possesses: the future's logic. Consider the Nile's inundation. The entire Egyptian economy is a pulse, a rhythmic heartbeat controlled by the annual flooding of the river. If the flood is too low, the empire starves. If it is too high, the mud brick cities are washed away. The priests use nilometers, stone pillars marked with measurements, to predict the harvest. But their predictions are based on centuries of observation, not on the fluid dynamics or meteorological understanding you carry in your subconscious. If you can use basic geometry to improve the irrigation canals, the shadufs, and the catch basins, you move from being a beast of burden to an asset of the state. You don't need to speak their language to show an overseer how to redirect water more efficiently using a simple siphon or a better angled dike. In that moment, the whip stays down. The gaze of the superior changes from contempt to curiosity. This curiosity is your gateway to the bureaucracy. The Egyptian state is a machine of record-keeping. Everything is counted. Every bushel of grain, every head of cattle, every hour of labor. As a sleeper, your grasp of Arabic numerals, though you must translate them into the decimal-based hieratic script, gives you a computational speed that seems like sorcery. You begin to understand the scribe's life. You exchange the heavy baskets of silt for the reed pen and the papyrus scroll. But do not be mistaken. This is a different kind of danger. As a scribe, you are now privy to the corruption and the secrets of the grain stores. You see how the nomarchs steal from the pharaoh and how the priests manipulate the records to avoid taxes. In 1350 BCE, a scribe who knows too much is far more disposable than a laborer who works too hard. Now let us examine the engineering paradox. You stand before the construction sites of the new kingdom. You see the massive obelisks, single pieces of red granite weighing hundreds of tons, being raised with nothing but sand, ropes, and human muscle. Your modern mind screams for a crane, a pulley, an engine. But you realize that the Egyptians have achieved the impossible through a mastery of friction and gravity. However, you know about the wheel. You know about the pulley. While the Egyptians of this era used the wheel for chariots, they strangely do not apply it to heavy lifting. If you were to introduce the compound pulley or the crane, You would accelerate the construction of the empire by centuries. But at what cost? To change the way Egypt builds is to change the social order. If 10 men can do the work of 1,000, what happens to the other 990? In a society built on full employment through state projects, your efficiency is a threat to the stability of the kingdom. You are not just building a temple. You are dismantling a social contract that has lasted for 2 millennia. As your influence grows, you are eventually drawn into the orbit of the military. The 18th dynasty is the age of the warrior pharaohs. The army is the backbone of Egyptian expansion into Canaan and Nubia. You see the composite bow, a masterpiece of wood, horn, and sinew, capable of piercing bronze armor at 100 yards. You see the chariots, the Ferraris of the Bronze Age, light, fast, and deadly. But you also see the limitations. Their metallurgy is stuck in the Bronze Age. They are using copper and tin, while in the north, the Hittites are beginning to experiment with iron. You know the secret of the furnace. You know that if you can reach the temperatures necessary to smelt iron, you can give the pharaoh a weapon that will shatter any bronze shield in the world. But iron requires coal, or at least high-grade charcoal and bellows that can reach extreme heats. You find yourself in the mines of the Sinai, overseeing the extraction of turquoise and copper, trying to reinvent the blast furnace. The psychological strain is immense. You are no longer a historian observing the past. You are an arms dealer for a god king. If you give Egypt iron, you ensure their dominance for 1,000 years. You prevent the Bronze Age collapse. You stop the Sea Peoples from ever destroying the Levant. You create a world where Rome never rises because Egypt never falls. The sleeper is now playing a game of cosmic chess, and every piece you move deletes 1 billion future lives and creates 1 billion new ones. Then there is the matter of the king. You are living during the reign of Amenhotep IV, the man who will soon rename himself Akhenaten. The air in the capital of Thebes is thick with tension. The king has turned his back on Ammoniusare, the king of the gods. He has ordered the names of the old gods to be chiseled off the walls of the temples. He is building a new city, Akhenaten, in the middle of a barren desert. He is a fanatic, a visionary, or a madman. History has never quite decided. But you, the sleeper, you know. You know that his vision is doomed. You know that within years of his death, his city will be razed to the ground and his name will be cursed as the great criminal. You are summoned to the palace. Perhaps as a translator, perhaps as a wise man from the north. You stand in the presence of the pharaoh and his queen, Nefertiti. The atmosphere is surreal. The art has changed. The stiff, formal poses of the past have been replaced by a fluid, almost alien naturalism. Akhenaten speaks of the Aten, the one true God, the light that animates all things. It sounds remarkably like a proto-monotheism, something that wouldn't be standardized for centuries. He asks you for your counsel. He sees in you something different, a mind that doesn't bow to the traditions of the priests. Do you tell him the truth? Do you tell him that his obsession with the sun disk is blinding him to the fact that the Hittite army is massing on his northern borders? Do you warn him that his generals are plotting against him? Or do you encourage his madness, knowing that his failure is a necessary part of the timeline? To save Akhenaten is to destroy the future as you know it. If his religion survives, the history of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam is fundamentally altered. The sleeper is now standing at the pivot point of human theology. Every word you speak in that palace is a stone thrown into a still pond, and the ripples are stretching out for 3,000 years. The isolation begins to consume you. You are surrounded by millions of people, yet you are the only human being of your kind. You are a man with a God's eye view of time, trapped in a body that still needs to eat, sleep, and avoid the bite of a cobra. You realize that the greatest challenge of Project Nile is not the heat, the hunger, or the plague. It is the boredom of knowing the ending of every story. You know who wins the wars. You know when the eclipses will happen. You know when the Nile will fail to rise. You are a prophet without a religion, a scientist without a laboratory. To maintain your sanity, you begin to record your thoughts. You find a hidden cache in the cliffs of the Valley of the Kings. You use the highest quality papyrus, treated with cedar oil to prevent decay. You write in a language that won't be deciphered for eons. You write the sleeper's archive. You record the laws of physics, the principles of steam power, the foundations of germ theory, and the history of the world you left behind. You hope that one day, 3,000 years in the future, a version of yourself will find these scrolls. You are trying to create a bridge across the abyss of time. But even this is a risk. What if the priests find your scrolls? What if they see your diagrams of the solar system? In their eyes, you are claiming that the Earth moves around the sun, a direct insult to Ra, who sails his bark across the sky every day. To them, your truth is a cosmic heresy that threatens the very stability of the universe. If they find your archive, you will not be executed. You will be unmade. Your name will be erased, your body will be denied mummification, and your soul will be cast into the jaws of Ammit, the devourer of souls. In ancient Egypt, the second death, the forgetting of the name, is more terrifying than the first. As the sun sets over the Nile, casting long purple shadows across the limestone cliffs, you sit on the riverbank. You watch the stars rise, Sirius, the harbinger of the flood. You realize that you have stopped looking at your watch. You have stopped thinking in minutes and hours. You have started thinking in dynasties and eons. This sleeper has finally woken up to the reality of Egypt. It is a land where time does not move forward. It moves in a circle. Birth, flood, harvest, death. Over and over forever. You are no longer a modern man trying to change the past. You are a part of the stone. You are a part of the river. You have become a historian who is no longer watching history, but is being consumed by it. The final phase of your displacement is the choice of legacy. You have reached a position of power. You are a vizier or a high priest or a general. You have the resources of an empire at your disposal. Do you launch a Bronze Age industrial revolution? Do you teach them to build ships that can cross the Atlantic? Do you introduce the printing press? Or do you realize that the beauty of Egypt lies in its permanence? If you introduce change, you introduce the very chaos you were trying to escape. You realize that the reason Egypt lasted for 3,000 years is because it refused to change. It chose stability over progress, Ma'at over evolution. You look at the Great Pyramid on the horizon. It has stood for 1,000 years before you, and it will stand for 4,000 years after you. It is a message in stone, a defiance of time. And you realize that your 21st century world, with all its speed and technology, is just a flicker of light in a very long night. You decide to lay down your pen. You decide to stop trying to be a god. You choose to be a man of the 18th dynasty. You embrace the silence. You embrace the sun. You embrace the Nile. The simulation is over, but the life remains.
The house of the dead is not a place of mourning. It is a laboratory of eternity. As a sleeper who has navigated the social hierarchies of the 18th dynasty, you eventually find yourself in the presence of embalmers. In your world, death is an end, a biological failure to be hidden away. In Egypt, death is a promotion. But for you, the sleeper, The mummification process is a masterclass in organic chemistry that challenges everything you know about the preservation of matter. You stand in the Wabbit, the place of purification. The air is heavy with the scent of natron salt, palm wine, and the pungent, medicinal aroma of cedar oil and cassia. You watch the priest use a bronze hook to remove the brain through the ethmoid bone of the nose. To them, the brain is useless, a mere producer of mucus. To you, it is the seat of the consciousness that allowed you to travel across time. You are tempted to stop them, to explain the neural pathways, the synapses, the miracle of the human mind. But you remain silent. In this simulation, the heart is the center of intelligence, the only organ destined to be weighed against a feather of Ma'at in the hall of judgment. Your contribution to this ritual is not spiritual, but chemical. You understand the properties of pH levels. You know that the natron, a natural mixture of sodium carbonate and sodium bicarbonate, works through osmosis to desiccate the body. But you also know about the antiseptic properties of resins that the Egyptians have yet to fully master. You introduce the concept of concentrated essential oils, improving the antifungal barriers of the linen wrappings. You are not just preserving a body. You are engineering a time capsule. You realize that the mummies found in your 21st century museums are better preserved because of a sleeper who whispered the secrets of chemistry into the ears of the high priest 3,000 years ago. The paradox closes. You are the reason the past survived for you to study it. But the peace of the embalming chamber is shattered by the drums of war. The 18th dynasty transitions into 19th, and the geopolitical landscape shifts. The Hittite Empire in the north has become an existential threat. You are no longer a scribe or a chemist. You are drafted into the logistics of the Pharaoh's army. You find yourself on the march toward a city called Kadesh. The march is a brutal lesson in ancient logistics. 20,000 men, divided into 4 divisions named after the gods, Ammonius, Ra, Ta, and Set, moving across the scorching deserts of the Levant. You see the chariots rattling in the dust, the infantry sweating under shields of cowhide and wood. You know the outcome of this battle. You know that Ramses II will claim a magnificent victory, but the reality will be a bloody stalemate that leads to the world's first recorded peace treaty. As a sleeper, you possess the knowledge of tactical geography. You have seen the satellite maps of this terrain in your future life. You know the hidden wadis, the elevation of the Orontes River, and the exact location of the Hittite ambush. You stand in the command tent of the Pharaoh. Ramses is young, arrogant, and convinced of his divinity. He is about to lead the Ammonius division directly into a trap. Do you speak? If you warn him, you prevent the slaughter of thousands of Egyptian soldiers. You ensure a decisive victory that might lead to the total annexation of the Hittite heartland. But such a victory would change the balance of power in the ancient world. Without the Hittite buffer, the Assyrian Empire might rise earlier, or the migration of the sea peoples might be diverted toward a different coastline. You are holding the thread of human conflict. You realize that Project Nile has moved from a survival simulation to a war game where the stakes are the lives of millions across the next 10 centuries. You choose to provide divine omens, subtle suggestions on troop placement that look like intuition, but are actually data-driven strategies from the future. You don't win the war for them, but you ensure the survival of the state. Following the war, the era of the great builders reaches its zenith. Ramses II is obsessed with stone. He is carving his face into the very mountains of Nubia at Abu Simbel. You are placed in charge of the workforce. Here, you face the moral weight of the sleeper's knowledge. You know about the lever, the screw, and the primitive steam engine. You could build a railway to transport the limestone blocks from the Tura quarries. You could invent a compass to ensure perfect cardinal alignment without waiting for the stars.
The power of simple science.
In this part of the simulation, we must look at how you can change your life using basic science. You do not have electricity. You do not have engines. But you have 3,000 years of knowledge in your head. To stay healthy and powerful, you need to invent a few simple things. The first thing you must make is soap. In ancient Egypt, people use oils and wood ash to clean themselves, but they do not have real soap. You know the secret. You take animal fat and mix it with ashes from a fire and water. You boil it. This creates a chemical reaction. Now you have soap. This is not for luxury. It is for survival. With soap you can clean your hands before you eat. You can clean a cut on your skin so it does not get infected. In a world where a small scratch can kill you, soap makes you a healer. People will think you have magic powers because you do not get sick like they do. Next you look at the sand. Egypt is full of sand. The Egyptians already make glass, but it is dark and full of bubbles. You know how to make it better. You find a way to make the fire hotter using bellows. You add specific minerals to the sand. You create clear glass. Why is this important? Because you can make a lens. With a piece of curved, clear glass, you can help an old scribe see his scrolls again. You can make a basic telescope to look at the stars. To the Pharaoh, a man who can make the stars look closer is more than a servant. He is a prophet.
The education of the past.
You begin to teach. You cannot teach them about computers or planes, but you can teach them better math. You show them the zero. The Egyptians have a great number system, but they do not have a symbol for nothing. When you introduce the zero, you make engineering and accounting 10 times faster. You show them how to multiply and divide using modern methods. You also teach them about the body. You tell your students that the heart is a pump and the blood moves in a circle. You tell them that tiny, invisible animals cause sickness. You tell them to boil their water and wash their bandages. You are creating a small group of people who think differently. You are planting the seeds of the Renaissance 2,000 years too early. But you must be careful. If you teach too much, you become a threat to the priest. They believe that knowledge comes from the gods, not from a stranger. You must tell them that your ideas are dreams from the god Thoth. You must hide your science inside their religion. This is the only way to stay alive.
The loneliness of the future man.
As the years pass, you feel a deep sadness. You are the only person on Earth who knows what a car is. You are the only one who knows that humans will one day walk on the moon. You look at the people around you. They are happy with their bread and their beer. They love their families. They fear the gods. They are not primitive. They are just living in a different reality. You realize that you cannot fix history. History is not broken. It is just a different way of being human. You stop trying to build a steam engine. You stop trying to tell them that the Earth is a planet. Instead, you start to enjoy the world as it is. You enjoy the sound of the Nile at night. You enjoy the taste of a fresh figure. You enjoy the heavy silence of the desert. You are no longer a sleeper from the future. You are a man of the Nile.
The final message.
Before you die, you decide to leave a gift. You find a secret room in a tomb. You write down everything you know on the best papyrus. You write about the laws of gravity. You write about the shape of the DNA molecule. You write a map of the world as it looks in 2026. You seal it in a jar. You don't do this to change the past. You do it to talk to the future. You want the archaeologists who find this jar to know that you were there. You want them to know that a human mind from their time lived and breathed in the time of the Pharaohs. You are leaving a bridge. As your life ends, you watch the sun set over the pyramids. They are beautiful. They are strong. They are eternal. You realize that humans always want to build something that lasts forever. In your time you built digital worlds. In their time they built stone mountains. But the feeling is the same. The desire to be remembered is the same. You close your eyes. The Nile continues to flow. The stars continue to shine. The simulation of Project Nile is finished. You were a stranger, then a teacher, then a friend, and finally a part of the earth. You did not change the world, but the world changed you.
Summary of the sleeper's journey.
To summarize your 36-minute experience in ancient Egypt. The first week, you almost died from the heat and the water. You learned that your body is weak but your mind is a weapon. The first year, you became a scribe. You learned that silence is safety. You used math to gain power. The middle years, you became a scientist in a world of magic. You made soap, clear glass, and better maps. You lived through wars and religious changes. The final years, you accepted that you cannot change the timeline. You chose to live a simple life and leave a secret message for the future. This is the story of Sleeper the historian. You did not just study history. You became it.